ahead, Coach.
First off, I wanted to just commend our team for the fight that they exhibited throughout the entirety of 4 quarters, and the resolve. I think we started slow, as we know, defensively in the first half. Built ourselves a bit of a hole. I really think the first half was probably the best offensive football that we've played in the season. Was pleased with some of the playmaking. Really pleased also with the fact that we had a 100-yard rusher, 100-yard receiver. I believe it was the first time in a couple of years, at least a year and a half. I think right now we're at a place where, we are. I believe that the team is fighting, and it's showing up. I think on Saturdays, the way that they're fighting in practice, the way that they're going about their work every day. But obviously, the missing link is playing that type of football when a defense gets a stop, the offense goes and scores, or Trevor Woods' interception, we need to back that up with 7. Or offense goes and has a tremendous drive, defense has to get a stop, and those are the things right now that I believe we're going to piece together throughout the course of these next 4 weeks. And we know that the challenges get even more significant, but we're up for the challenge, and we're going to keep fighting. And I'm really proud of the resolve, and we just got to put it all together. And Jordan Tyson today was fantastic, and I was really proud of just how he's practiced and how it showed up on game day and really impacted the game. So with that, I'll open for questions.
Coach, you kind of spoke to it a little bit, the slow start from the defense. We saw flashes of that defense playing the level they did against Cal, and then maybe we saw the flashes of them being slow. How do you kind of fix those inconsistencies and maybe try to get them to play another 4 quarters of the defense they played against Cal?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of some factors. I think a little bit of the bump that we got in the Cal game was as a result of, Cal not knowing schematically what we're going to do. And there was probably a little bit of that today as well. You get a little bit of bump when you go out and play a no-huddle football, which we practice and plan, but you don't know unless it's on film. You build your entire plan with what's on film. Obviously we prepared by going back into 2015 to 2018, Chandler High School offense, and it was different than that. There was probably more similarities of their offense that they'd done, prior to this game, but just in a no-huddle manner. And, hats off to them, obviously, for getting going early. I think we did settle in the second half. But obviously we have a really good opponent coming in. It will be good for us to be able to put, our full preparation into what's on tape. And I think that is a part of it. College football nowadays is so different. You have 2 interim head coaches. I was talking to head coach there at ASU, interim head coach, and this is college football in 2022. There are a lot of changes. There's week-to-week changes, schematically, different coordinators. So it's just different football than probably it's been historically. So, but I was pleased with how our defense did settle in. I had the full belief at the end of the game that we were going to get a stop, and that's why we attempted to really blast it off the front line. We got the ball on the ground with the returner. We pinned him back deep. In our time chart shows that, if we get off the field in that scenario, which we had the last 2 drives defensively, then we're in a position to go put one together offensively. So I really do believe we did the right thing in putting our trust in our defense, and we just didn't get the stop.
Two weeks ago, Deion Smith leaves the field on a stretcher today, his first 100-yard game. What does that say about his character and resolve to come back and do that?
Deion looked like that in practice this week. I think I said in one of the press conferences, or after Tuesday, he looked like a guy that was just. He was running harder in practice than he was before the injury, and I think he ran his hardest that probably he has in his entire career. He ran physically. He looked fast. He made plays. He was communicating. It just shows so much about just, number one, how much he loves his game, and number 2, just how much he loves his teammates. That's what I think we're seeing right now is a whole bunch of fight, for the brotherhood that exists on that team.
So with your defense, one thing we saw tonight we haven't seen a whole lot of early in the season was pretty good second half adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were better in the second half, especially against the run. What do you feel like you guys changed at halftime to stay in that game? And then another part of that is, what impressed you about their quarterback who, making his first start?
Yeah, first off, I'd say when I went in the locker room at halftime, I had a lot. It was great to come out. The first defensive stand of the second half is 3 and out. And that's to my point. We need to go score a touchdown there. That's the missing link, and we didn't get that done. We went 3 and out and matched that. But I went in the locker room and I saw the communication was happening amongst the staff. I see, Gerald Chapman working with the front. Rod Chance is up there diagramming all the different looks that they'd shown in the first half. Changed some of the calls that we were making. I just had a lot of confidence in what they were going to do in the second half, and I think there was a resolve in the coaching staff that I think the players fed off of, and I think that's something that they are really believing in right now. Is that our coaching staff, both sides of the ball, is going to make the adjustments that we need to give ourselves a chance to make the plays and win the game. Bourguet was he played I think really courageous football. We were getting some hits on him at times, and he was. I mean, some of those throws, he was throwing off his back foot. I mean, there were probably about 4 of them that were really those 15 to 25, 30-yard throws that, it's like the ball's just, it's flailing in the air. We have a defender there on a majority of them, and it's just, tight end makes a great play, receiver makes a great play. I think it was just we were in position to make some of the plays, and a couple of those, the ball didn't really bounce our way or it didn't fall our way. And I think our defenders know that when you're in those positions and you're guarding, obviously in a retreating manner, and you're not facing the ball, you got to play through the catch point. And that's one thing that we'll work on this week.
Mike, one of the things we saw tonight, especially defensively, that we really hadn't seen in the first 2 weeks under Coach Chapman was some missed tackles. How much did that kind of play into extending some of their drives, and what can you guys do to kind of correct that going forward?
Yeah, I felt like some of the missed tackle opportunity more in the first half. There were a couple in the second half. I mean, there's one obviously that jumps out. It was probably 4 on one play. I think tackling is all technique. It's all fundamentals, and it's also want to. And I think we have the guys that want to do it. We got to continue to create, calls that eliminate space, because tackling with a lot of space, is a lot more challenging. But different than what I saw earlier in the year. It wasn't like there was a ton of space consistently in the run game, pass game. It was just, being in that position, wrapping up and holding on for dear life. And I saw Tyron Taylor grow up in the second half in terms of tackling from the safety position. He's been playing the nickel position the whole year, and I saw him hold on. I saw Simeon Harris hold on. So there's going to be some stuff that we point to that were positives of guys that hadn't played in those positions. Really, Simeon hadn't played really any nickel, minus a couple snaps. Now he's our full-time starting nickel against 10 and 11 personnel when they have basically 3 wides or 4 wides on the field. And I saw him kind of grow up as the game went on. And I think that's where we're at. I mean, it's just growing up, through the course of the games, taking the experience of today and knowing I can get some of these big dudes on the ground. And that's got to be our mentality. Is we got to find a way to get, ball carriers and receivers to the earth. We got to get them to the earth. And however you got to do it, you got to hold on. Tyron showed that, like I said, and I was pleased with Simeon as well.
Hi, Coach. Owen McCown is still eligible for a red shirt. Just moving forward, what's your analysis on the situation at quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have the discussions again. Those are ongoing discussions that we're having internally, and like I've always said, I want to do what's number one best for the student athlete, because that's what we're here for, is to put those guys in the best positions possible. But I will say, I mean, the fact that Owen was starting, when he was, I don't think that was something that he probably envisioned, to be starting at 167 pounds, 172 pounds, depending on the day. And so he went out and did it, I think did the job admirably, was really pleased with how he did, but his body was starting to break down. And so when you get into this type of a stretch and you're already a little bit banged up, we have to think about, he's the type of player that probably traditionally would have redshirted. He's a developmental player, comes from a lineage of Josh and Luke McCown that were both late bloomers. I'm pretty sure Josh didn't really play even at Sam Houston until his 4th or 5th year in a starting capacity. So we're going to do what's best for Owen. We're going to do what's best for our program going forward. And we'll make those decisions, and we'll want to be obviously as candid and open about it with the media, with you guys, as possible.
Mike, sticking with the quarterback position, obviously the completion percentage numbers for JT kind of stick out in his starts. Obviously early in the year, especially in the Air Force game, there were some drops that were hurting him, but this game there's really only the one that stuck out to me with Jordan. What was going wrong for JT today with just some of the balls that were kind of sailing over receivers and going out of bounds, and what did you see overall from
I mean, what I talked with him a couple times on the on the sideline after series is just your fundamentals are non-negotiable. You're standing in the pocket, throwing from a great platform, hitting your back foot and letting the ball go. When he does that, I think he's really good. He did do some good things actually outside the pocket. obviously the touchdown to Jordan Tyson stands out. You know, it's kind of playing the second play. Even, you know, Montana's, we ran a double move to Montana, and I think he created a little bit, but just trusting your protection, throwing from a base, throwing from a platform. And, you know, I just think, I thought he started faster this game, but the consistency, obviously, to get the completion percentage numbers, it's got to go up. And we know it's not going to get easier, but you know, we just got to continue to find those completions and make sure that we're playing with, you know, the appropriate fundamentals. The interception, to me, that was one where you know, just trusting your protection. It was a flea flicker. We had a, you know, a run action with it, you know, and, you know, I felt like Jack Estera really won on the route, and that ball requires more of what JT loves to do, is drive, you know, rip a ball with, you know, not a ton of air, but I don't think he really truly trusts his protection, kind of threw the ball off his back foot, and then it really gave the safety a chance to recover, and that was a critical play, I think, in the game.
Coach, coming into the game, number 12, Jalen Connors for Arizona State. He only had 8 receptions for 76 yards. Tonight he has 6 receptions, 108 yards, 3 touchdowns. Was he just not in the game plan, or what were the issues covering him today?
You know, it was one of those games, like, just watching him throughout the course of the year. You know, he's a big tight end. He actually looks like, on the sideline we look at him, he looks like a blocking tight end. It was one of those games that truly, like, he made some tremendous plays, and the ball found him. You know, it was almost like there were some of the plays that he made. It's like, you know, there's a defender kind of draped all over him, and the ball just literally just like lodges into his chest, and he did a great job making plays. You know, a lot of guys have those types of days. It wasn't like, I don't think he was a focal part of their game plan per se, but I think he, you know, obviously made the plays and made some spectacular plays when his number was called. So I think they obviously found something in him, and you know, not really having much to go off of, and 7-game sample size. You know, didn't really become a focal part of the game plan.
Sorry. We heard about Jordan Tyson before fall camp even started. So many people were raving about him. So he obviously played well last week. And to have a performance like he had tonight, how much fun is that for you to just see a young man like that start to make some of those plays and show that he could be a superstar?
Yeah, I think Jordan Tyson's a superstar. I think he's going to be a superstar in this conference for a while. I think he's going to have a tremendous career in the game of football. And what I love about Jordan is I think he's kind of embodied a little bit of the culture that we've brought forth, like just the juice, the joy, the smile that he has on his face at practice. Like, he's an infectious guy, and I think that even the fan base and the crowd fed off of his energy today. And he's such a natural route runner. He's got tremendous ball skills. You know, really his drops this year are a little bit different. They're almost like he might have slipped out of a cut and the ball's just on him. You know, it's not like there's not many of his drops that are just fundamental drops. You know, I think he is turning into a sure-handed player, an explosive playmaker for us, and frankly, we need it. You know, I mean, and it's been a great emergence for us offensively because, you know, to be honest, like through the first 4 weeks of the season, you know, there were opportunities that were out there, and I was always wondering who's going to be the guy that's going to make the play and bust an explosive play. And I think tonight was the first time we really stringed together some explosive plays between some of the runs that Dion had, obviously some of the plays that Jordan had, and then the punt return was just spectacular.
You talked about making decisions for the future of the program. How hard is it to balance looking at that long-term versus you're being judged short-term with a staff that's in an uncertain and unsettled situation?
You know, I think what I said when I stood up here, you know, on that Sunday that I was put into this position is that, you know, this is about our student athletes. This is about our players. And, you know, and I'm going to continue to do everything in my power to love these kids, to put them in the best positions to have success, and then to create some more memories. We got 4 games left. We're going to go create some memories, you know, out there on that field. And I think we just found out the kick time for Oregon's going to be 1:30, so we look forward to a packed house again. And, I mean, the student section today was incredible. Even towards the tail end, it was awesome watching those that stayed, and, you know, they were witnessed what would have been one of the most incredible comebacks probably in Folsom history, but we just fell short. No, I think that's a big thing for me is just I really want to care. I want to care for these players, their presence and their futures. In the case of Owen, it's not, you know, I think it's less about, you know, him saying, I want a red shirt. It's like, what's best for you, you know, and you know, where he's at in his developmental stage, what is best for him, and also what's best for our team. Because you think about it from the flip side, if we just say, hey, Owen, you have to play, right? And then he gets beat up, you know, then obviously I'm not looking out for the best interest of Owen McCown.
Mike, you had touched on this a little bit earlier, but what are the challenges of preparing for a quarterback that there's really only so much tape on, that only has so much of a track record?
I think there's some challenges, especially when obviously Emory was a big part of the plans for the majority of the year. We knew he was more of a passer, and that showed up today. We knew he was, had exhibited toughness in the Washington game that led to the win. It's a pretty similar scoreline, if I'm not mistaken. But I anticipated him being a guy who could make the throws. And I think if we just had tackled better, and there was probably about 2 significant coverage breakdowns that we had that I think allowed them to have some explosive plays. But, I thought a lot of the balls that he was throwing up there were, back foot, kind of, you see the ball in the air and you're like, there's no way that's going to be completed. And the ball just kept finding receivers. And, so credit to him for showing toughness.
Coach, you guys have had a tough schedule so far. Coming up for November, though, you have 4 of the best teams in the conference. I'm sure it's one game at a time for you guys, but how do you kind of sustain what you've been doing as interim head coach these next 4 weeks?
Yeah, I think it is just living in the day. We built this thing all as a process. We've seen the results of those process in a positive manner. I would say that we saw some results today. Not the ultimate result that we all want, not the ultimate result that certainly I wanted, but we did see it in the fight, right? So, we hadn't really exhibited that trait, right? You think about the score line being 42-20. What's happened throughout the course of this year when that score line looked like that. It's why a lot of people left. But I'm going to tell those people that left, this team's going to fight to the very end, and there will be a breakthrough, and I believe that. And I think the process that we're going about, the players believe in it. They're seeing some of the fruits of their labor, and I think putting it all together, we're going to see that all come to fruition at some point. And obviously we're going to take it, just like we do every single day in our preparation. We're going to take it one day at a time, and then we just have to be the better team out there on Saturday, just for that Saturday. We're certainly not going to be supposed to beat anybody on the remainder of our schedule, but we're going to have the mentality that we just got to be the better team that one Saturday. And we saw it tonight in glimpses, right? There's some, man, if we just piece that all together, you better watch out. So I think that's what we saw, some of that growth tonight.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Tyson, Dion Smith, Trevor Woods, questions?
Dion, just for you, I mean, 2 weeks ago, it's a scary scene as you're getting carted off, and now 2 weeks later, you're having a career game. Just what has this last 2 weeks been like for you, and what was it like tonight just to have the success you did and be back out there with your teammates?
If I'm being honest, I feel like it was a humbling experience, and it kind of changed my perspective on the game. Even though that I have been through adversity in the past, I had never really been through anything as traumatic or just like as instant as that, because I had ACL, and that was like, it's like a long process, you know what I'm saying? So that really just made my perspective of the game change, and I just saw things differently. So this past 2 weeks was just like kind of a revelation for me, if I'm being honest.
Jordan, for you, I know last week you were kind of down on yourself after that game. For you to come back and have a performance like this, how much fun was that for you on a personal level? And then second part, on the returns, you and Nico have both kind of looked like you're close to breaking something at some point this year. So how much fun was that to finally get one to bust?
It was a lot of fun. That's actually my first punt return of my career, so that's real fun. Yeah, the drops just gotta go. I can't keep doing that if we want to get to the next level and win some games. But I'm just trying to keep my head up and get some more wins.
Dion, you had talked about your perspective and the way that you view the game changing here over these past couple weeks. Getting back on the field tonight, given your injury the previous game, is there more hesitancy that that you maybe find yourself mired in sometimes? Does the way that the game kind of comes to you, does that change at all? Does your outlook or mentality change?
Not really, just because I know each place really has a life of its own, you know what I mean? And whenever that play is over, it's over, and that's all I could just move on to the next thing. So, for me, it didn't really change my game. I feel like if anything, it made me want to be more physical, because I saw it as I would rather take the punishment to somebody else than taking it. And even though in that situation, it was just, I was at a vulnerable time, vulnerable moment. I felt weird, Things happen, you know what I'm saying? And I just feel like for me, I just wanted to come out here and turn it up a notch. So however I was viewing the game and reading my keys and doing the things before, I feel like for me, tonight was just about doing that at a higher level than I've done it before.
Hi, Trevor. Just a question about the defense. You have Jalen Connors, Elijah Badger, Valade, some really tough guys. How hard was it to stop those three guys, and what was just the biggest challenge for you guys on the defense?
It was really just, like you said, they spread the ball. They changed a lot of things, what they do on offense. So it was like, obviously we know their tendencies still, but like they did a lot of different things that they even talked about it. We knew that coming in, so you can't really get ready for that. But they spread the ball around well, so you can't just key in on one guy.
Dion, you guys can't go to a bowl game this year, but Mike Sanford was talking about how you guys will be playing for memories going forward. 4 marquee matchups, you're going to be on ESPN next week. How do you, as a veteran on this team, kind of help lead guys and try to get that effort going here the final month of the season?
I feel like at the end of the day, regardless if we're going to a bowl or not, every week is your resume. And I feel like a good percentage of these guys want to play on the next level, just like I do. So regardless of, if you got a bowl game to expect, if you have another game next week, every time you strap up, you got to try to put your best on resume. So these 4 games, I feel like for me, and just talking to the guys and just trying to be a leader on the team, I want to just, spread that every day is an opportunity. And we never really know when we're not going to be able to play this game again. And we got to just keep putting stuff on tape, keep putting stuff on our resume. And I feel like that's the best way to look about it.
Jordan, you kind of had shown some flashes throughout the season of breaking out, and today having amassed over 200+ yards of total offense. How do you use that, kind of going into these next 4 games against, some of the top contenders in the Pac-12? Do you see it as like some of the kind of prove it games, or are you just going to keep doing what you're doing?
I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, plus even more. I feel like that's all I can do. Just like he said, build my resume so I could just get to where I want to go, and that's the league.
Trevor, you almost got your first pick last week. You got it tonight. Kind of walk us through that play.
I mean, I was already sitting in. We were in man. I was already sitting outside leverage, and I mean, he kind of threw like the easiest route to cover in that. I was kind of surprised when I looked back to the ball to see it coming. So I kind of wasn't ready for it, to be honest. But I mean, it was awesome. I immediately tried to get the ball to the sideline, try and keep it, but it's gone now. But no, it's something I'll never forget though.
Really for any of you guys, but down 42-20, we've seen this team in similar situations where it gets a little worse or it doesn't get any better, from that score. But you guys battled back, made it a game, gave yourselves a shot. Talk about that fight. We've heard about that a lot with this team, but you guys showed it tonight. Where does that come from as you guys are, trying to make something out of the season?
I mean, it really started with our offense. They 42-20. Right after the score, they went down and scored. And then JT came in, punt return for a touchdown. I mean, that's what put us in the game. I mean, we had, I think, one stop in there. But, I mean, just offense kick-started it, though. You just need a big play. And, I mean, the whole drive together was, but then that kick return, that's when it was like, we're really, like, you kind of like 15-point game. We're in. We have a chance. But after that play, you're like, we really can try.
Yeah. I think a lot of that has to do with Coach Sanford, too. He brings a lot of energy, a lot of passion to us, and he gave us that spark to want to fight. Even that talk that we had at the beginning of the fourth, it just brought a lot of energy.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like kind of what they both said was, I feel like Coach Sanford has a lot to do with it just because he kind of spreads that contagious energy, which I feel like you guys have seen a little bit of that. But, I feel like we just come into each week a little differently, and we know the game isn't over until it's all zeros on the clock. So, I mean, you got to keep fighting at the end of the day, regardless.
Anything else for these guys?
Just for Trevor. Obviously, defense struggled in that first half, but you guys battled back in the second half, and we saw second half adjustments, which we haven't seen a whole lot of this season. What do you feel like changed for you guys defensively that you figured something out to keep yourselves in the game?
Kind of like I said earlier, they did they really changed a lot of stuff on their offense. They like a lot of their tendencies were kind of the same, but the formations, the plays that they were running, a lot of them were different than what they normally do. And like I said earlier, we knew that they were going to do something completely different, but we didn't know what it was. So we got a chance to, we got to adjust better during the game. But halftime adjustments, it was like we really got to see what they were doing. We could change it. We could really change it up.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. That's it for in here.